Good afternoon and welcome to today's Planning Committee. This is not a public meeting but a meeting the public can attend. I'm Councillor Susan Durant, Chair of Planning Committee. Before we commence, I'd like to outline the domestic arrangements for the meeting. We are not expecting a fire practice today, and if the alarm sounds, please leave the building by way of the fire exit through the doors at the rear of the chamber on my right. When you've left the chamber, proceed down the stairway and exit through the emergency exit on the ground floor. If there is anybody with mobility issues, please wait in the refuge area at the top of the stairs where the emergency evacuation lift is located, and use the intercom situated to the left-hand side on the lift doors to call for assistance. The designated assembly point is in the public square in front of Cast, beyond the fountain. I'd like to inform members of the public and press that today's meeting will be audio-visually recorded, and by entering the council chamber, you accept that you will be recorded and your images retained and broadcast by the council on its website and on YouTube. If anyone intends to record or film any part of today's meeting, please ensure that this does not disturb the conduct of the meeting and you only focus on recording those people participating. Please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent mode. May I remind anyone speaking in the meeting that you will need to press the large red button underneath the microphone and ensure the red light is illuminated. This will ensure that you are recorded. The meeting is proceeding today on the basis that all members of the committee have read their agenda papers thoroughly and are aware of what they will be considering today. If any member of the committee leave the chamber during consideration of an application, they should ensure they do not take part in the vote on their return, as they will not have heard all the relevant information on that particular item. Thank you. So item 1 for apologies. We've received apologies from Andy Pickering. Are there any other apologies, please? Okay. Can we submit apologies for Sophie Lou and for Duncan Anderson, please, and Emma Muddyman-Rawlins? Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Item 2 is exclusion of the public and press. There are no exempt items on today's agenda. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest, please? No, thank you. So item 4, minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 6th of February 2024. Can the minutes be moved as a true and accurate record, please? Is that moved? Is it seconded? And is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we're now on to the schedule of application, which is agenda item 5. We'll start with application number 1, planning application 23/02223/FUL, which is an amended proposed raising of the roof height of an existing detached garage to form a new floor office space with one pitched roof dormer window proposed to the front elevation of the half-hip style roof at 24 St Chad's Way in Sprotber. Sarah will be presenting this item. So over to you.
Good afternoon all. This planning application is being presented to Planning Committee due to the fact that the applicant, Mr Glenn Bluff, is an elected member of the City of Doncaster Council. Amended plans dated the 24th of November 2023 have been received at the request of the case officer. This was to redesign the roof type stroke style, to reduce the overall height of the proposal, and to reduce the number of dormer windows proposed to the front elevation from 2 to 1. The amended scheme is now to the satisfaction of the local planning authority. No objections have been received from consultees. 3 letters of representation objection have been received in connection with this application from 2 neighbouring properties and their residents. The existing height of the current detached hip roof garage is 4.24 metres. The amended proposed new height is 5.637 metres, therefore an increase in height of 1.397 metres. The ground floor layout of the detached garage remains as it currently is, which consists of half the area being used as an office space and the other half being used as a garage facility stroke space. After careful consideration and assessment of the application, Taking into account only material planning considerations, it is felt that on the whole and on balance that the amended scheme does not adversely, unreasonably nor significantly impact on neighbouring residential amenity, the existing cul-de-sac setting of St Chad's Way, Sprotbrough, Doncaster, nor the wider residential area. The supporting site and aerial photos show the existing detached hip-style roof garage, the enclosed side area of the site in question, the dwelling house itself of number 24 St Chad's Way, and part of the turning head which serves St Chad's Way, plus the relationship of number 24 to that of its more immediate neighbouring properties. The application is recommended for approval.
Thank you for that, Sarah. Committee members, we're going to go into the debate session. Is there any questions or comments you'd like to ask the planning case officer? No? Therefore, is there a proposal to grant planning permission subject to conditions? That's been moved by Councillor Cox. Is that seconded? That's been seconded by Councillor Hogarth. Can we have a show of hands in support of the application, please? And that's everybody. Thank you very much for that. Application number 2 is planning application 24/00060/FUL, which is the erection of a first floor rear extension and modification to ground floor rear elevation at 54 Castlegate, Tickhill. Holly Hazlett is the planning case officer who will present this item.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon all. This application is for the erection of a first floor rear extension with alterations to the existing dwelling. The application is being presented before committee today as the applicant is an employee of the Director of Economy and Environment. It's Pete Lamb, one of our conservation officers. There have been no representations received in relation to the application and no objections have been received from consultees. The application site is within residential policy area. It's also within the Tickhill conservation area and there are a couple of listed buildings nearby. The main considerations for the application is any potential impact on neighbouring amenity and potential impact on the setting of the listed buildings and conservation area. So this is a site plan. It shows the location of the proposed extension central within the existing dwelling along with the ground floor area highlighted in reference to the proposed changes. The proposed floor plans show the first floor extension, creating an additional bedroom with ensuite and dressing area. At the ground floor, multiple existing rooms are to be converted into one large kitchen area. As can be seen from the proposed floor plans, there is no proposal to expand the footprint of the host dwelling, therefore existing residential amenity is retained. The proposed elevations show the proposed first floor extension along with the proposed alteration to the ground floor rear elevation. The host dwelling is surrounded by domestic properties, therefore consideration must be given to neighbouring amenity. There is no concern for overshadowing the first floor extension to being set away from the boundary with number 48 Castlegate, resulting in the massing centred within the curtilage of the host dwelling, minimising overshadowing to the neighbour. There's no concern for overlooking. The rear elevation window does fall short slightly of the 10 metres recommended separation distance to the rear boundary, but to mitigate against this, the window has been positioned 1.5 metres above floor level, so within the upper limit of human eye level, so to minimise overlooking. It also doesn't face directly towards the host dwelling, the neighbouring dwelling, my apologies. The proposal is not considered to result in harm to the design and appearance of the host dwelling. The erection of a first floor extension balances out the existing bottom heavy appearance. The chosen materials relate well to the existing, and the ground floor alterations create a more consistent and sympathetic appearance than the existing. It's acknowledged that the proposal is inherently modern, but there is a clear distinction between the historic and more modern elements of the dwelling. So this is just an indicative visual where you can see the proposed scheme. So this is views of the existing property in relation to the nearby listed buildings. The first image shows the view of the host dwelling on Castlegate, with number 56 Castlegate Grade 2 listed building on the left. The second image shows the host dwelling as viewed from the rear garden, with Grade 1 listed building Church of St Mary's within the background. It's not considered the proposal will have a detrimental impact on the siting of either listed building. The extension is not visible from Castlegate in conjunction with number 56, and although visible in association with the church, the extension is some distance away and will not impact upon the immediate surroundings. 54 Castlegate is considered to make a neutral contribution to the conservation area. Whilst the design of the extension is inherently modern, the choice of materials relates well to the existing historic elements of the host property and materials used widely within the Tickhill conservation area. As the proposed extension is to the rear of the dwelling, it will not be visible from the adjacent highway. It is not considered to impact upon the character of the conservation area. The consulted conservation officer has raised no objection to the application and is content that the proposal will not harm the setting of the nearby listed buildings or the conservation area. So some site photos. This is as viewed from Castlegate. The existing dwelling from the south. The existing dwelling from the north, and this is taken from the rear garden of number 48 Castlegate, so the neighbouring property. And then this is from the rear, sort of the other side of number 4 Bride Church Lane, which backs onto the property. In conclusion, the proposal will not result in adverse harm to the character and appearance of the Tickhill Conservation Area or nearby listed buildings. There's been no identified adverse economic, environmental or social harm that would significantly or demonstrably outweigh the benefits identified when considered against the policies in the framework taken as a whole. The proposal is compliant with the development plan and there is no material considerations which would indicate that the application should be refused. The application is therefore recommended to be approved by committee subject to relevant conditions.
Thank you for that. Committee members, we're going to go into debate. Okay, Councillor Stapleton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Holly. I've got a question, or I'm pretty sure I know the answer, and it's purely something I just picked up in the interest of members of the public looking at this and for transparency, given the applicant's role within DMBC. Can I just clarify so it's put on record that where we mention the conservation officer states that this is not the applicant? If we can just get on record.
It wasn't the applicant. Our other conservation officer, David Hornsby, considered the application. I believe, if I'm correct, Roy, that somebody else also looked over his consultation response before it was submitted formally.
Thanks for that. I just thought that in the interest of transparency that should be pointed out for the record. Thank you. Thank
you for that. Do we have any other questions? Therefore, is there a proposal to grant planning permission? Is that recommended? That being moved by Councillor Stapleton. Is that seconded? By Councillor Beat. Can we have a show of hands for those in favour? That's wonderful. That's been agreed. Okay, item 6 is appeal decision. This report is for information only. Does any member wish to ask a question on this item? No? Can we move that this be... Sorry, Councillor Cox.
I think I asked the question via email, whether within some of these things that are fed in, where can the committee make a comment? Could the committee, if they want to make a comment during the investigation or whatever, where is our voice within that process?
As part of the appeal process. The appeal is obviously if a planning application has been refused by the local planning authority. A number of the appeals that are on this agenda were officer decisions, and the officer therefore has to defend the local planning authority's case at appeal. When it's a committee decision, the planning officer will still defend the local planning authority's position in that. So the planning committee will make their decision on the planning application, and then it's over to officers where they can, and more often than not they will, defend the grounds on which the application was refused. There are some times where in extreme circumstances where that may not be possible, but then we would need to explore other options, like can we get external planning officers to defend the case of the planning committee. Whether it's an officer, whether it's the planning committee, we are all one local planning authority and we are all trying to defend. So it would be up to members if they wanted to individually, in their role as ward member or a member of the planning committee, want to make any representation on the appeal, but be assured that the council puts forward the committee's decision at appeal and defends it.
And just to add to that, it's taken out of the jurisdiction of the local planning authority, obviously, and so it's the planning inspectorate's website that you would go on to see where to submit your representations to. But it wouldn't be as a whole planning committee, it would be individual members. But yeah, that's where the information is rather than through the planning officers.
Thank you for that. Any further questions?
And thanks for that clarity, because I mean, I believe sent an email asking exactly that question, and it came out better then, thank you. But yeah, I mean, we were contacted obviously by the resident as ward members to see if we want to make any input, but I found that obviously being on the committee, it could have been, I don't think it were right for me to make that decision to contact.
It sounds like you may have been conflicted because you'd been part of the decision of one way, and they'd contacted you as ward member to see if you'd represent them on the other side. So you would have been in an untenable position there, and have to say, could they maybe speak to one of your colleagues about it and see what they could do? Yeah.
Councillor Hogarth.
Yeah, I've asked it before. This is committee overturn, yes. But the committee's decision hasn't been overturned. That first one, the committee overturn seems the wrong term, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, what that is trying, this is something that goes back a long time ago, where I think the planning committee many years ago wanted it explicit in the papers. What this is basically saying is a report came to the planning committee with a recommendation for approval, but in this instance the planning committee disagreed with the officer recommendation and overturned the officer recommendation and refused planning permission. So that's why it is spelled out like that. It wasn't overturn of the recommendation to the planning committee.
Yeah.
So to add to that, the first item there, the appeal was dismissed and the committee had overturned a recommendation. So it emphasises the importance of having that independence of the planning committee.
Do we have any other questions? Okay then, thank you everybody. Members, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all business at today's meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance and input and now declare the meeting closed. So thank you everybody.